Hello, welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to make a sausage plait, which is a way of using sausages that's often overlooked, but it's rather nice as the weather changes and it becomes more autumnal. It's a good filling, it's a good dish to make. Now I'm going to make enough for 4 people, but if you wanted to make a smaller one you could halve everything. So I've got 8 sausages, and obviously you could halve it and just use 4 sausages. Typically it's 2 per person with this. I'm not using sausage meat because I actually prefer to use ordinary sausages and skin them. And the type of sausage you choose is entirely up to you. These are fairly ordinary, they haven't got lots of flavouring. But you do need to take the skins off. So for that, you need a pair of scissors, and with each sausage you just need to cut through the casing and then peel it off, and you've got your sausage meat. Here we are. So, because they haven't got a great flavour, I'm going to add extra flavouring to them. But before I do that, I'm just going to give them a good old mix, and I'm using a salad fork, simply because it's quite strong, because sometimes this can be a dryish mixture, and so you need something quite strong to break up the sausages and mix them together. I know it's counterintuitive not to use sausage meat for this, but I don't like it, to be honest with you. It's not something I've ever really used. So there we are, we've got the sausages mixed together, and we need to give them some more interesting flavour. So for that, you could peel, core and chop an apple and mix that in. You could use some whole grain mustard, and I'm going to put in some chutney. I think most of us have odd jars of chutney at the back of the fridge that sort of get a little bit hidden, and it's a good way of using those up. So for this, I'm going to put in all that. I think that's probably 2 dessert spoons. And it could be something like a Branston pickle, it could be red onion chutney, whatever you've got. So that's clearly empty, I'm going to have to get rid of that. I'll pop it into here. And then that just gets mixed in. So if you're going to use apple, drop it in, peeled, cored and chopped, give it a mix. Mustard, you could even use cheese, whatever you like to jazz up your sausages. And of course if you buy well flavoured ones, you probably don't need to add very much at all. So that's enough. I'm not going to mix it any more than that. I don't want to lose the chutney. I want there to be slight pockets of it in the finished product. So next we move on to our pastry. Now I've got the oven on to gas mark 6, which is 200 Celsius 180 fan, and you're going to need your biggest baking tray, and I would use a piece of greaseproof in preference to the silicone reusable stuff, because you would have to wash that up. There's a lot of juice that comes out of this while it cooks, and it will probably burn on, and if you've cooked it on greaseproof paper you can just throw the paper away. So I've got ready rolled pastry. You could use gluten-free, you could buy a block of pastry and roll it out. I don't really know anybody that makes their own these days, other than if they're on a competition in the television. So we've got to get this out of here, unroll it, and then I'm going to absolutely turn it upside down onto the paper on the baking tray and peel off the backing. There we are. So I'll bring it towards me, and we're going to put the sausage meat down the central third of this. So a spoon and a fork, my trusty fork, and you start to just put it on the pastry, all the way down, trying to stick to the middle third as you go. So it can be a little bit high, a little bit piled up. Use your fork to just keep it where you want it to be, and then go back and fill in what look like gaps. So that middle piece is a little bit skinny. And that piece there. Right, so now we get to the fun part. You're going to need a sharp knife, and we're going to cut the pastry on the diagonal from almost the top to almost the bottom, and you're going to try and get the same number of cuts on each side. It's not as difficult as it sounds. So don't cut right up to the pastry, leave yourself about 1.5 centimetres perhaps 2 centimetres, and make a diagonal cut through the pastry to the outer edge. So that's that side. Now I'm going to do down this side, and because I'm right-handed I might just have to turn this a little bit. So I'm going to start here. Now we're going to need some glue to make all of this stick together. So I've got an egg. I'm going to crack my egg into a bowl. I had a great conversation with a friend today about cracking eggs, and the clue to cracking an egg successfully is actually to only hit it once. One good hard tap, like that. Open it up, drop it in the bowl, and you're away. And that's for my show. Mix it up. And sometimes people use a bit of milk with this if they need a lot of glaze, but we don't need a huge amount, so we don't need to thin the egg down. I'm just going to use straight egg. Now I'm going to brush all the way round. So across the top, down this side, doesn't matter if you drip it on the paper, across the bottom. And this will take quite a long time to cook in the oven, so it's going to be very, very brown when it comes out, but you've got to make sure your sausage meat is cooked in the centre. Right, you can see we haven't used a whole lot, but we'll put some more on the top at the end. Now we're going to start plaiting, and to do that you need to have some way of keeping everything in at the ends. So you fold the top piece over the end of the sausage meat, and then you tidy it up with that flap of pastry there, and then you go to the other one. So I've done the left and now I'm doing the right. So now I go left and right and left and right all the way down. It doesn't matter if you can see the sausage meat, that's fine. Give them a bit of a press, and the egg is acting as the glue to hold the pastry strips together. Now when you get to about here, you've got to tidy up the bottom. So you fold the bottom up and get those triangles to just hug the sides of the sausage meat. Then you go back to your lefts and rights. So it's a left next, and then a right, and then a left, and then a right. Now you'll need to give the ends to somebody who likes pastry, because there's quite a lot of pastry at the ends. And that is fairly neat. You can give it a bit of a squeeze if you want to. And now we just glaze it. So back to the egg, and really make sure that you cover all the pastry, because it just makes it look so much nicer. And it's very, very crisp when it comes out. And again, if it goes on the paper, it just doesn't matter. If it burns on, it doesn't matter, you're going to throw the paper away. I would always, always line the tin for this, because if you don't, there is a risk it will stick. And then it will break when you try and get it off. So it's sort of like a plait, not quite in the bread sense, but it's got that look about it. And there we are, I think I'm pretty much there. Whoops, a piece of egg white there, let's take that and get that in there. So all the way up the side. So there we are, that's all there is to it. And it goes in the oven for about 45-50 minutes. You've got to be sure it really is well done in the centre, and it will be very, very brown, very crispy, absolutely delicious. Now it's had 45 minutes. The time has gone, and I actually put some tomatoes on there just to cook whilst it was having its last 15 minutes. And you can see there's quite a lot of juice that's come out, but it's really lovely and golden, nice and crispy. And the next thing to do is to get it onto a serving dish. So I've got a fish slice and a pie wedge. I'm going to go under there, and then under this end, and put it onto my stainless steel dish.
and I'll put those on as well. It stays hot for quite a few minutes, so be very careful when you're serving this, especially if you've got children. It's going to really be hot for a long time. But that's it, a different way of using sausages to make a lovely sausage plat. I hope you enjoy that. Like, share, subscribe, and you'll find the recipe on the website.